Hey everybody, it's Corey. This is a Cheshire Cast. I am here today by myself in a room staring at a wall. And somebody just chuckled and gave it away because they can hear everything you say it and do on a microphone, you know. That's how they work, everybody. So, I'm not here by myself because I would never do this alone. I always need somebody to support me. And since Trisha is not here, we have another guest co-host.
Hello.
That's her.
Yes.
That's our friend Stephanie. Do you know you've got like 3 names here, Steph?
Yeah.
So it's Stephanie Stern-Carlson.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So you kept your last name?
No.
Or is that from like your mom?
No, that is Stern is my maiden name.
Okay.
When Facebook was brand new, before our guests were probably even born, I was afraid people in high school wouldn't know me by my married name because I didn't invite them to my wedding. And
so it's not a Stern hyphen.
No, but
I always thought it was.
This is what's crazy. Now I'm getting legal documents sent to me as Stephanie Stern-Carlson, which means Facebook is getting out there into the real, legit world.
Sure. Well, you know, if we start to talk right now about like, I need hair dye because I'm going gray and I'm getting old.
It's gonna show up.
In like 30 seconds, there's going to be an ad on my phone that says, hey, did you hear about this new hair gel dye for men?
I know. They listen to you, and constantly. I don't do a heck of a lot to stop it.
Yeah, I mean,
it makes my life a little easier when I can.
It makes my life a lot of fun when I accidentally say that female name that you shouldn't say in my house because it'll make something turn on or off. And
she's so needy.
Yep.
We're constantly in our home saying it's not about you, Alexa.
Oh. Right there.
Oh my gosh.
She's literally right.
She's going to turn on.
Right
she's
here.
Going to turn on.
The only female I can turn on.
I was
going
to say something, but I'm so new here. I didn't feel it was appropriate
only
yet.
One. No, it's.
But I did think it.
It's completely okay. So there's some cool things that are happening this week. I'm in the process of writing with some friends a brand new theme song.
Whoa! Wow.
For the show because. The current theme song is a song, well, now I'm not even, man.
It's by one of your friends' bands,
no, it's
right?
by my band from 25 years ago. I just can't, for whatever reason, I'm that old, I can't remember exactly what song it is that I use for, it's the one that goes, Hey You. So that is the AGT Posse or something. I can't remember the title of the stupid song.
Wow.
But that's a song off a record by my band Blind Justice, and it's actually almost 30 years old now.
Wow. Definitely older than our guests.
Yes, and I also feel like it might be a little too heavy at sometimes. So I had a conversation with some friends, and we came up with an idea. We started to write some things down, and
is it a ballad?
No. We took the idea from a existing television show that is a comedy, and we're kind of gonna Weird Al it in a way.
Oh, I'm excited to hear that.
So I think that'll work. But if that doesn't work, then we're just gonna have people that listen and like the show just write theme songs.
Oh, that's kind of fun.
We're gonna do something.
Yeah,
we're gonna have some fun with it to make it a little bit more interesting. And then, Stephanie, you're a broadcast professional.
I am, or I was before I had children. Yes, I did radio and television and newspaper,
which is rad.
But I think I have a face for radio.
I think my face is far more appropriate for radio than yours.
But it's fun to be back in here in the studio, and I'm really complimented that you and Trisha would invite me to be part of your
she did.
podcast.
I had nothing to do with it.
Okay, I'm trying to give you a compliment. Okay.
Listen, it's all her.
Yeah.
She just tells me, just like my wife and I, she tells me what's happening, and I say, okay, I'll drive.
It works. It works. Because this podcast is just growing. Your listenership is growing. Mm-hmm. People are constantly asking to be on the show.
We're booked till November.
You guys are going, really, you're going hi, you're going to have to expand. I think I was telling you this when we ran into each other at karate yesterday. You guys are going to have to expand because you're going to need to get out of Cheshire soon because people are just really enjoying the show.
I think I'm going to create a bunch of sub-shows. But one of the conversations you and I had was you had suggested we do some, breaks during the show and hey, you're listening to... So I contacted a friend of mine who's a professional broadcaster, currently on the radio. His name is Kerry Collins, KC101 and a 95.3 or anyway, he works for iHeartMedia.
Oh,
and he's going to do a bunch of voiceovers for me.
Wow.
To just say, hey, you're listening to the Cheshire Cast, and in his professional announcer voice, and that I even trying to do can't do, but. So we're going to have some cool stuff that's going to be mixing into the show. And, just from our initial conversation with the two gentlemen that are here with us today.
Oh, they're so interesting. And Corey kept stopping all of our conversations because he said, no, wait for the radio. But they're so interesting. I really want to talk to them.
But I think I'm going to have them come in. I'm just going to engineer like an hour episode and just let these two go because I can see that it would create... because they're brothers. Okay. And they seem to have this mutual respect for one another. They're close enough in age where they're almost twins.
Do you know how pregnancy and gestation work? Okay. They're not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're 2 years apart.
Okay.
Like my brother and I, which is far enough apart to be different, but close enough together to be really annoying for like 18 years. Right?
Exactly. They're doing the heart sign to each other.
Do you want to introduce our guest, Steph?
Yes. We are so excited to have our guests, Thomas Mulholland and Stephen Patrick Mulholland, who are here to talk to us about Spirits Alive, which just
Did you guys know that?
There was a hint. There were some hints.
News to me.
So I'm completely new to Connecticut and to Cheshire. Moved here in January from Washington State.
She hasn't even been in town a year.
Can you believe that?
Welcome to Cheshire and welcome to Connecticut.
And so I'm in this
the first person she met.
Heck of an introduction.
That actually is true. We got a free drink out of it, though.
You did.
So, yeah.
I'm glad that's all you think of.
Okay. And so in this tiny community we have this great opportunity in the fall to kind of go on a ghostly cemetery history tour. Can you tell us, just give us a quick rundown on what Spirits Alive is, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty.
The elevator pitch for Spirits Alive Cemetery Tour. It is an fun, interesting, educational way for the community to get involved in its own history and to hear about the people that lived in this town before them.
Wow. That's...
Thomas.
Yeah, that was really... It sounds like you've said that before.
And it's all for the benefit of the Cheshire Historical Society, which is a nonprofit organization.
So Stephen is the... he's the comedic, actor.
He's the sidekick.
Yeah.
I've got the charm and
yeah. You're the physical comic.
The
duo.
You could describe that.
Yeah.
I found myself there, but I mean that is the best and most encompassing description, because to get really into the the interesting points is to get really into the nitty gritty and find a little bit further explanation. But I'm sure we'll get to that.
But Thomas is the favorite, right?
Of course.
I mean, I was here first. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I got a head start.
I'm the baby.
Wait, one of you has number one son as email.
Oh my!
Which one is that? That's you.
I'm pretty sure that's me.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure I did
Thomas
that when I was 13 years old.
Oh my god!
No one's changed it.
Your mom hasn't changed it, and I saw she put your email first before Steven's, so. It's all subliminal stuff.
Thomas is capitalizing on laziness and refusal to change contact names. He changed his caller ID on our home phone to you were the only person who gave yourself a name. Everybody else was unidentified caller. But you went through the effort of putting Thomas Edward Mulholland.
I want people to know who
Steven.
I am.
Well,
I'm just trying to form a bond with you because I am also not the favorite son.
No. You know how nowadays people don't get raises; they get promotions in title. So
wait, I have to interject and say, Joyce, I'm just kidding. I'm sure it's a 50-50 split.
There. Love you, Mom.
Yeah, you're the first child. You get to experience everything first. So
I hope she can handle jokes.
We need to let your brother, know that he's of value as well. So
Of
number
course,
one, some.
it's important to let him operate under that delusion.
Oh
It's
my
it's
goodness.
No,
very critical.
the second sibling gets more attention than the first because all the mistakes that you make with your first, you try to correct with your second.
Oh my gosh, it's
Oh,
so.
well.
Plus, we're just better. So there's that.
Oh my
This is why I
I'm
was
the first.
Listen, I was playing in a rock band touring the country in a broken down van, and my brother was going to West Point.
Oh,
That.
So
okay.
so my parents clearly fixed all the mistakes.
Okay. So segue. So Spirits Alive. So it's this history tour.
Yes, ma'am.
But tell me more about it. Like, what's the meat? What would get people to come who might say history?
I think there are levels because you say history tour, it's like there's history, but that's thing, and then you say it's a cemetery tour, and that's another thing,
Yeah.
cemetery October, you got the mood going, and then you go on to describe it's more so than just any facts, it's a storytelling event, and then even beyond that, you have we select these stories, these real stories from these local graves, these local deceased, and we have actors that come in full historical
wow.
garb. Our costume does meticulous research and pieces things together, and then we have these scripts. We take these stories pieced together from newspaper articles and records and death certificates and birth certificates, ledgers. And we turn that into a first-person story. So instead of having some historical society guide lead you through the cemetery and tell you these facts, you have the Civil War soldier themselves looking
Wow.
at you and telling you
Wow.
the story.
Oh, that is really.
So the actor is dressing as the person whose maybe site you're at.
Yes. For the most part, yes. They're standing and they're portraying the individual whose graveside they're at. And we do it in a really respectful way. We never touch the tombstones. We're really careful the way we tell the story to honor that person. And that's the other really interesting thing about the tour itself, in my opinion, is the people that we portray, the people whose stories we tell are people from this small rural Connecticut town who are forgotten. Their names haven't been spoken in years. And it's a really unique opportunity to get to know these people that lived 100, 200, 300 years before us and to be able to tell their story.
So how did the two of you become involved? Because I mean, you guys are fairly young. Well, you're very young. One of you is not even 21 yet.
But they're young and educated. You just graduate. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Stephen Patrick just graduated from college. And Thomas, you're in college,
I just
right?
finished my sophomore year,
Just
so I'm halfway through.
they're very educated.
But
young.
but they're in their early 20s, and in your early 20s, you're supposed to be, waking up with hangovers every day and partying, and who's this? Where's
in a rock
this? Where am I?
band.
Being in a rock band in a broken down
Nice.
van.
Good job.
But these guys are doing something to give
Yeah.
some entertainment and educational value back to our town, the
Right.
community.
Yep.
That's absolutely. I think that's incredible, especially at your age. But how did you get why?
Well, just to back that a little bit, Corey, nobody ever said that you couldn't do both.
Fair.
So
That's fair.
we can balance the party and the education. To answer your question, it is a long and winding road, a series of fortunate events that led to this. Let's see, this is our 6th year doing Spirits Alive.
Wow.
And going back to our childhood, we'd always gone to events similar to this, ghost tours through cities. Guides telling us historical stories, and then even the nicer tours where they had the actors telling these first-person stories, and that was the real top-tier stuff. So we grew up, and that was kind of our October thing, and an interesting way to set the mood and also learn something. But long and short of it is, our mom got involved on the Historical Society board, filling in for somebody for a period of time, and kind of tossed around this idea when the idea of fundraising came along, and then a little time later, I did my Eagle Scout project there, my junior year of high school, I believe. Yes, I did my Eagle Scout project there. Got involved. They offered me a position on the board as the student liaison.
Wow.
Yeah, so I kind of I was involved in decision making and basically helped if they were doing any outreach programs for the youth of the town. I either headed this project or aided. And then when the idea of fundraising came around, I again put forward this idea of some kind of historical cemetery tour.
This was your idea when you were about a junior in high school.
It's somewhere in our whole family going to stuff, and like my mom suggesting it, and then me suggesting it. It's happened somewhere there. It cannot be attributed to, I think, a single person in that respect.
It was a family affair.
It was, of course.
And now it's going on its 6th year.
This is its 6th year.
See, I told you it wasn't
successful.
We're having our pre-conversation. She's like,
you get a pass. You get a pass.
Okay.
So
it's only been 2 years. I said no. I think I even said no. I think it's been 6.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm reading. I'm balancing children and
1 East Coast year is 3 West Coast years.
There you go. Yeah, I like you.
It works out.
Okay, so this obviously very successful and very enjoyable. It's enjoyable because it's, and then that makes it.
Let's
successful.
clarify successful.
Yeah.
This thing sells out like almost instantly.
Every year.
Like, can I reserve
Wow.
tickets so I can actually get them, because I haven't been able to get them for 6 years.
Oh my goodness!
It's so funny you. I mean, it's so. Well, just a little bit of a plug here, but if you are a member of the Historical Society, which is just a yearly fee that you pay, you get access to tickets 2 weeks earlier, I believe September 15th, and then tickets for everybody goes on October 1st. So that's
and
some
limited
kind of way.
number of tickets.
It's
That was 2 weeks.
It is. Tickets go on sale for Historical Society members on August 15th, and then tickets become available to general public on September the 1st.
So move that back a month.
Okay. And what are we'll go over all these logistics, but just since we're talking about it, we'll go over at the end. Don't let's forget.
Totally.
What are the dates that people can actually go to the event?
My understanding it is that it is October 12th and 13th. It's a Friday and a Saturday.
Oh, you put in all this work for just 2 days.
Yes, ma'am. And that is, we hear this so often. We did it one time, I think our 2nd or 3rd year. We did it for 3 nights, and it was just about the hardest thing we've ever done.
Oh my goodness.
I believe it.
It's a lot of work. We have 70 plus volunteers every night that are working, and we have 15 or more tours going through every night with several people on each tour, and
wow,
it's a lot of work.
Now, were you guys part of the drama club at Cheshire High? Did you both go to Cheshire High School?
We both
we
graduated
both
Cheshire High
did.
School. I graduated in 2017. My brother graduated in 2015. And we never did drama.
Really?
I took
Not
Theater
once.
100 freshman year of college for an arts credit. But
So
Spirits Alive was before then.
So silly me, I assumed one of or both of you were actors in the thing.
That's
Well,
okay.
that's the interesting thing about the tour is a lot of the people who are actors who act in the tour had no previous acting experience. The first year that we ever went into the tour, we got all of our actors but 2 from just walking into church, finding a group of friends and suggesting that this is something we wanted to do. Would anyone be interested in acting?
No
and
kid.
these people who had no acting experience decided that they would be willing to do so, and they have been acting ever since.
Wow.
And my brother, who can talk more about this, he acted for the first time last year.
Just
Wow.
last year.
Yeah.
Okay,
just-
tell us about your character. Who were you?
Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. Am I going to do my boy dirty by not remembering the facts?
Albert A. Hopkins.
Albert A. Hopkins. What
Your
a
brother's got
character.
your back.
I know.
I love you guys.
We're a dynamic duo.
Hold on, like legit. He had your back, like
It's
I do my best.
in a breath.
I mean, we will get more into this later, but Thomas is an incredible force in Spirits Alive for facts and information. And when we get into his role, we will go into it. But
No.
Yeah,
He was not going to let you fall down.
there.
He was like, no, my brother needs help.
Well, then you can see the dedication
That's
that
awesome.
goes into
Yeah.
this show.
Yeah.
The only way this all
Yeah.
works.
So, okay, so who were you again?
I was Albert A. Hopkins, and he was his story takes place early 1900s, a little bit before the 20s. And he basically, I'm not sure if Stephanie, you're familiar. I'm sure Corey, you are. But in Cheshire, there is a prison. But before it was a maximum security prison, it was just a correctional institution, and kind of the first of its kind, where it's like, instead of punishing these young men that come in for these offenses, they decide to give them jobs. So the correctional institution boys built houses, they sold chairs, they fixed people's cars. They were a fixture in the town. And Albert A. Hopkins, after a failed robbery, he robbed a deacon in a nearby town of like a couple $100, and he went on the run in New York, was caught very soon after with his brother, and the both of them served time in the correctional institution. But poor Albert, after getting out on parole, he was out for like only a few weeks, I believe, when he drowned. Oh. So we used his story kind of like it was him telling this whole heist. He thinks he's this young guy. He robbed a deacon. He's like making it out. He's doing great. And then
God was like, no.
That's some pretty meaty
He did
karma.
rob the deacon on Easter Sunday.
Oh, yeah. So God was like, 2 inches of water is all I need to drown you.
So how did you find out all these details? Take us through the process.
Well, stories are found in all sorts of places.
Just tell Stephanie. You ever heard of Google?
I'm trying to conduct an interview here. I'm a professional.
But to respond to that, that's the thing, that in many cases these stories aren't stories when we quote unquote find them. By I should say. No, it's a reasonable explanation, because it is an incredible process that puts together, and that is all, like, almost entirely all Thomas. Thomas, you want to talk about just piecing this stuff together?
I'd be happy to. We find stories in a variety of different ways. There are diaries written by a gentleman who lived in this town and died in the early 20th century, and he recorded meticulously town events, and some of it is history, genuine history, and some of it is truly gossip. And we learn some really interesting stories from that way. There's also a lot of books, old historic homes of Cheshire, Cheshire landmarks, a variety of genealogical books. Newspaper articles are a really great source.
I mean, Albert, he was just like 1 or 2 newspaper articles and some of the prison records, right?
Yes.
Like death certificates. He was just that.
I'm just thinking that I'm kind of recording a diary by doing this podcast. So 100 years from now, somebody's going to come across these archives.
There's going to be some guy
We'll see you then, Corey.
introducing himself as Corey Nash in a cemetery.
That's going to really change the trajectory and the home values in
So I think this is going to be the last episode.
So I saw on Facebook Spirits Alive.
Yes,
it's Spirits Alive Cemetery Diary on
ma'am.
Facebook.
Yes, ma'am.
You were interviewing someone, Thomas.
Yes.
You were interviewing someone. Can you tell us a bit about what you were interviewing, or do you not want to give it away until the tour?
I can mention who I was interviewing. She's a lovely woman. Her name is Jean McKee, and she and her family have been living in Cheshire for generations. She is descended from one of the first people to ever arrive in this community. Thomas Brooks is his name. He actually named Cheshire.
Oh.
After his father, Henry, who was from Cheshire, England.
They're not very imaginative people.
They're not very imaginative people. Lovely, though. And we interviewed Miss McKee about her family because, of course, they've been living here for a very long time. We actually did one of her relatives in the cemetery tour last year, and our goal is to portray another one of her family members in the cemetery tour this year.
So how do these people that you interview feel about you bringing their ancestors back to life?
I just as a small note, because you think this is an issue that some people brought forward, when bringing dead people and trying to reinterpret them and tell their stories truthfully as possible. For the longest time, and still technically to this day, we have a rule that we've only been a few times, and if there's an individual that in the cemetery whose story we want to tell that could have held our grandfather as a baby, we don't feel comfortable telling their story. It's because there's some close for comfort. There are a few individuals we have, and that there actually have been people in town that knew them. But as for for the most part, we try to keep away from the more recent stuff. There are cemetery tours that are some great tours. It was West something.
There's a lot of great cemetery tours around the state, but there are a few that will portray people up until very recently.
Oh, can I tell?
No.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's so interesting. Don't mention the tour name, but
fix your mic just a little bit so it's don't break it, but
is this
angle it up a little bit more so you're talking right in there.
Ah, there we go. There we go.
Are you
Sounds
saying
better.
you can't tell us a story because people need to come to the tour to hear it? It's that good, or you can't tell it because it's from another?
This is from another cemetery tour,
and we're not allowed to know.
Basically, the synopsis.
We don't want to promote them.
Well, we're not saying the name, but now I really want to know the story.
We like promoting history.
Well,
it doesn't
Google.
matter where. The story was that we were surprised because the individual that they were portraying was an individual who had passed away roughly 5 years prior.
Oh, really?
And what my brother was trying to get at was our general cutoff date is 1935 for a story to have taken place.
You were in first grade then, right, Corey? Yeah, I think so. Okay, continue.
If an individual
Age joke?
It was so easy. You would have been insulted if I missed it.
An age?
it was pretty good. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie.
It was low-hanging
age
fruit.
joke?
You had to do it.
You had to do it.
Really?
I'm sorry. I had continue, Thomas.
If an individual had a story, if their main chunk of their story took place prior to that, and they died after the fact, then we would consider portraying that person. I believe it was 2 years ago. We portrayed two individuals. We actually did a double script, so it was two actors standing by a tombstone, and they were telling the story of the Spanish influenza epidemic that hit everywhere in 1918, but impacted Cheshire especially as well. And one of the individuals we were portraying died in 1918 of the Spanish flu, along with her brother. And the other individual, it is revealed afterwards, contracted the flu, survived, and then dedicated the rest of her life. She was the fiancée to the woman's brother who died.
Huh.
She never married. She spent the rest of her life in the medical field, and she died in 1955. And it was interesting. Someone on the board of the Historical Society knew her. She was the school nurse at Humiston School when she went
no
there
kidding.
in the 1940s.
Wow.
So that was really interesting.
So you're a proponent then for the CDC pro-vaccine.
Oh,
This is
yes.
becoming a pro-vaccine.
Just try not to
Okay.
get the Spanish flu,
Okay.
anyone.
So-
So,
Right.
Yeah.
so this tour isn't like you're dealing primarily with history and the interesting aspects of some of Cheshire's society. It's not like scary ghost stories.
We do our very best to not frighten anyone. It's not a scary tour. It's
Mhm.
educational.
But that
it's
isn't to
still-
say it isn't spooky.
It's funny. I remember the first year we ever did it, and people were discussing who we'd be portraying. And I
Okay.
remember my mom was saying that it'd be really good to do the minister. And, he lived this very long and amazing life and died at 80, surrounded by his wife and children. And I was like, it's October and we're in a cemetery. We got to have at least one murder.
Oh.
So that was kind of my job, was to find the interesting kind of like the spooky type thing, because it is around Halloween.
Sure.
So we do like to tell those stories as well, of course.
So what age then would be too young? I have a kindergartner and a third grader. Would they be too scared to go? Is it at night? Is it in the dark
It
with a
is.
lantern?
Well, are you going with or without me?
I would like to go with my husband.
If you go
that's
without me,
okay.
then it'll be appropriate for your kids.
It
Okay.
is. It is at night. It is in a cemetery. It is well lit. We
Okay.
have 2 people on the tour with lanterns, and it's lit entirely by hundreds and hundreds of mason jars with tea lights in them,
Oh,
lining the
beautiful.
path. It is beautiful. It is well lit. No one's jumping out at you.
Okay.
I would think that your kindergartner would be perfectly comfortable.
So maybe PG?
I would say so.
Yeah. I mean, there are certainly, again, there are some, we have at least like one murder per
Generally
year.
speaking,
Generally,
yes.
one murder. Got to meet that quota per year.
Okay. You're not murdering the guests.
We are not.
These are people who are
that's-
already
We're
have been
scraping the bottom
murdered.
of the barrel. We got to make our own
That's
stories.
that's my tour.
There.
Oh yeah, that would be
My tour.
No, yeah, but and we have done a few witches or supposed accused witches, but no, it's not. There
Does
are
Cheshire have a witch that was
Allow me to tell you the
tried
story.
or hanged or what did they do? They
I just went to the
They drown
Salem
'em?
Cemetery tour.
well, in
No,
Ducking.
they hung them. I think they drowned them in
they hung
England.
them, they
So-
burned them.
So you're
or-
thinking
I
of
thought they-
ducking, which is when they tie a suspected witch to
Look at this guy.
I know.
a chair, and the idea
That's
is
called ducking, you idiot. Huh.
I just know my 17th century
Thanks.
stuff real well.
Wow. What
Thanks,
are you
Thomas.
studying in school, Tom?
I am a history and museum studies
See,
major.
there you go.
would never
There you-
guess.
Yeah,
He's
that's fantastic.
he's taking the class called Right Sizing Corey Nash.
Yes, yes. This is. I could just listen to the two of you, Thomas and Corey. I love that this 20-year-old is.
I'm gonna have him
Anyway.
back and be a co-host.
I know.
There.
I know. No. Okay. So ducking.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is ducking?
That is when you throw a suspected witch into the water. The idea is that
They're
this is-
tied to a chair.
They are tied to a chair, generally speaking, or they're restricted in some way. If they drown, they are innocent, and if they survive, they're a witch, which results in Europe. Usually, they are executed by fire, and in the case for colonial America, they are.
Hold on.
hanged.
Yeah,
Did I
so you
follow that
don't-
correctly?
I know, you don't
so
win.
if you
No.
if you
Oh, there's no
survive,
winning.
you're still executed.
Exactly.
And if you
It's a
die,
foolproof
you're
system.
innocent, and they
Foolproof.
made a mistake.
Welcome to the hypocrisy
That is
of
the
Puritan New
dumbest
England.
thing I've ever heard in my life.
Wow.
We don't care if you're innocent or guilty. We're going to kill you anyway.
So, did we have any duckings in Cheshire?
We did not have any duckings in Cheshire, although we've actually told this story. It's because it's such a good story. We've told it twice in two different ways. We have one of our volunteers, Angela Giannetti, who joined us on the first year, and every subsequent year has been our clothing designer. She does a lot of the costuming. She's fantastic. She has twice portrayed the Widow Kai. The Widow Kai was a woman who lived in this town. She was a widow in the
Hence the name.
hence the name
Mm-hmm.
in the 18th century. At this point, the executing of witches had gone out of fashion with the end. The end of the.
You mean the executing of just people?
Exactly? Sure. Suspected witches, one might say. But though they stopped executing people, it did not at all mean people stopped believing in witches. And in this case, there was this woman that lived in Cheshire, and she was believed by almost everyone to be a witch. And there's a really interesting story about these two local people who went to visit her one night and what they saw at her house, her ramshackle house. And then they left town forever after seeing what they saw.
We are interrupted by my doorbell.
I think that's actually my husband here to pick
It,
up my
it
children.
might be. You should have told him to knock.
Well,
Or
I
the
s-
widow.
Because now
I
the
don't
dog's
know.
going to bark.
There.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Interesting audioscape.
Okay, he just called me.
Man, so we got a little derailed again because the
That-
doorbell rang. We were learning about a widow.
Okay,
I think you finished, and then the doorbell rang.
Mm-hmm.
kind of ruined the climax.
It did. Well,
Oh,
nobody's touching
Man.
that one?
yeah.
I mean,
no.
spoiler alert: the worst thing that the widow.
Doorbell's getting rung
Every
again.
time
It's a
I mention,
lovely
every time we
doorbell.
mention her name, I'm telling,
Yeah.
there's something going on.
Wow. Every time the bell rings, a witch is ducked.
I hope not.
Okay, so while he's dealing with the doorbell,
So we're ducking witches at our door,
An alarming pace.
and somebody's
Alarming.
hitting the button.
would that be my child hitting the button?
You think
Yes,
it's your kid? Your kid's
think-
outside just ringing the bell?
Well, no, I think my husband did. He took the kids outside, and then they had to ring it for
Of course.
good luck.
Yeah.
Of course.
Are we good?
I think so. I'm being yelled at by my wife because I asked her. I said, "Could you please get the door?" She's like, "I did." I'm like, "Well, who's ringing the bell?"
Okay.
Well,
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
No worries.
I swear to God,
this
we're professional.
there.
I am.
There.
Yeah, that's why she's on the show once.
I'm telling you, this is a better setup than my college radio setup.
Which is crazy.
There, you would be surprised. It's got character. You know, those
What college
walls.
did you go to?
University of Rhode Island.
That's
Great
like
college.
a good school.
It was great.
I have a
Great
friend that
school.
went
Great
there.
school.
I thought you went to like University of Log Cabin in my backyard.
University of Phoenix Online.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, listen. I have a degree from University of Phoenix.
I think that explains so much.
I'm
I've never actually met a Phoenix graduate.
I'm
so
kidding. I don't.
No, I mean dunk on the University
And
of
Thomas,
Phoenix.
where are you going to school?
I go to Juniata College.
Where's that?
What
It
is
is in-
what?
Juniata College.
Never heard of it.
Nobody
Yeah.
has.
It's their slogan.
They just opened last year,
They've been open since 1876.
since 1997.
Where is it?
It is in Huntington, Pennsylvania.
Nobody even heard of Huntington, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Nope.
I don't think the college or the town exists.
Hey, I went.
It's in the Twilight Zone.
I went to
I'm gonna
a very
duck you.
good school. We're not ducking.
I'm gonna duck him
We don't duck our
to
guests.
prove
Corey.
that this town and this
Yeah.
college
And
exists.
if he dies, then
dies,
he's
you're-
telling the
yeah,
truth.
then he's telling the truth.
Exactly.
College students sink, liars float.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I also went to a school that's very small and not well known, but it is highly superior to any school that Corey would have attended.
I went to Winnebago University.
There we
There.
go. And just to throw it out there, use it as you may. I did minor in theater to give me scholarship money, so
All right.
use that as you need.
We will be in touch.
Be careful. Be careful. People get sucked and dragged into this event. It is snowballed over the years.
Oh, I
And they
want
love it.
I want to act.
I think people would want to be part of this. This
we've-
sounds great. You have
I
a
want-
costumer.
We've had people, reach out and
I
then
wanna be
people that volunteer at just event. The first few years was just our friends and asking them to act and volunteer, and then people come forward wanting to be in the event, and they just become our friends. So it's just become this. We need everybody.
We have a
but-
really close knit group of our volunteers and our actors. And what's also really cool is I think it's really brought in our family together closer as well. With my brother and my parents and my grandparents, who my grandfather lives in town, Ted Holtzman, and he's a genealogist and he's a history buff. And that's what's cool about our scripts is we can research the individual's life. And then my grandfather has read a book on absolutely everything. So he can just fill in the historical context or whatever we need.
So you just said you have to forgive me because you just said something that I lost my grandfather a couple years ago.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
we were very close, and you just said something that triggered something. He would read everything, and he kept the record. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's pretty good.
He would read everything.
Yeah.
I would give him books. I would give him the craziest books. I would give him X-rated books, and he would read everything. He didn't care, and he used to keep a record of every book, like handwritten. I have a copy of it somewhere. A handwritten record of every book he read.
Wow.
And
Incredible.
a little like 2-3 word sentence of what he thought of it.
Oh my gosh.
And I wasn't always interested in the subject matter he was reading, so I would find something that I was reading, and he would ask me, because we would have breakfast, family breakfast on Sunday mornings, and he would ask, what are you reading? And I'd bring him crazy books, just like about rock stars and drug addicts and porn, like just crazy stuff. I'd bring him all kinds.
these books.
Well, if you look at the books on my shelves here, you'll see I have.
Don't
I'm
look at the books on the
fascinated
shelf.
by. I'm fascinated by people, so I read a bunch of biographies. So I have biographies in here on George Patton and Jenna Jameson. I have it's a crazy selection. Slash and President Obama. I have all kinds of stuff. And when you said that, just and that was one of my favorite things is just being able to talk to this gentleman who is 2 generations removed from me about something as crazy as Janet Jameson's life. And he would have a legit he wouldn't make fun of it. He would come at it from a very, educated perspective. He was a World War II Marine veteran who fought on Iwo Jima and Okinawa, part of the whole thing. But there was just something about when you said, my grandfather reads, and it just hit me. So I had I had an emotional moment for a second there.
Well, this is really a family affair then. So
is Grandpa still around?
He is.
Yes,
that's awesome.
He is the gatekeeper. Every year he puts on his tricorder and hat and his cloak. And every time a tour is supposed to gather at the gates, he rings his bell and he has this big booming voice and he calls them. And then besides that, we have some scripts that are very history intensive. Some battles and troop movements and many years. So in many cases, we have him write those intensive scripts. Just because he is an incredible well of knowledge.
And for me, that's where my passion for history really comes from. It comes from my parents who brought us to all these tours and historic homes and cemetery tours, of course. But my grandfather and his passion for history and our own personal genealogy really encouraged me to study what I love. And now I'm trying to, we're all trying to educate the people of Cheshire.
Well, so what's going to happen now? You've graduated. What is your degree in, Stephen Patrick?
I double majored in communication studies as well as writing and rhetoric.
I did communication studies.
All right.
We have a BA and BS. Yeah, good job.
It's the keep it vague, keep the major vague.
Right. And you're studying history. So what's going to happen?
So one
now?
of you is going to have a job, and the other one's going to maybe.
Hey, communication.
Which one's which?
We're all over the place.
I think we've got a potential history teacher and
a
guy who's going to work at Monroe.
I've got a 2-year head start in Thomas, and it's still a contest to see who gets a job first.
So what's going to happen with this
Stephen,
tour
you seem
once
like a
you
good
guys
sport,
get jobs and move along?
Well, up until this point, like we said, this has been a family affair, and it's, as Thomas said, we think it's brought us closer as a family when we could have drifted apart. I mean, I started, I think it was my senior year. Was that the first?
We were both in high school.
I think we started planning my senior year because I think my freshman year of college was the first, because that was no, it was senior year because that would have been the first 4 years of college, and then this year's
6 years.
Yeah. So it was my senior year of high school. Was the first year that we did this, and then the next year I was off at college, and that was, the first time Thomas was ever an only child, but we had this, I'm only 2 hours away in Rhode Island, but still,
he wasn't an only child. Every once in a while, he reminded your parents that you existed.
Exactly. I tried.
And plus, we have our small
Mom, Dad, you have to call Stephen.
Says with tears in his eyes.
Who?
No, but we also have our Havanese Winston, who after Thomas graduated high school, he was promoted to number one son in the household. So
is that a dog?
That's
our dog, our little Winston Mulholland. So, yeah. So we've been all collaborating on this event, and we think it's kept us close. I mean, in this age where we can just email scripts back and forth, and Thomas, is at the town hall photocopying all these records. We've been able to manage it. It's definitely been more difficult, as Thomas is one of our lead, if I can say, just lead researcher, period.
Wow.
He's been off of college, so it's been a little bit more difficult in that respect, but some miracle he's been able to balance both. But yeah, I mean, it's
Adderall, caffeine,
lots of tea,
lots of tea, lots of the
so is
historian's
there
poison.
A solid base that will continue this once you guys?
We hope so. It really is.
You guys set the bar really high.
Yeah,
for
you guys
passion.
really have.
I mean, you guys are really into this.
It's
and
fun.
If I mean, like I said, like we said earlier, the show sells out quick. The reputation is, positive reviews and positive feedback. It's just across the board awesome. So, I almost wish you could do it the entire month of October.
Yeah,
so more of us could see it.
I know you did 3 days, but what if you did 2 weekends and then, or 2 days a weekend and then another 2 days?
That's the problem with having the actors in the way that we do. These are not hired professionals.
Right.
These are lawyers and myself, college students and
doctors
and doctors,
stay-at-home moms.
Stay-at-home moms. Like, and these individuals, they do this, and all this money goes to the historical
Thomas
society.
just got some points, by the way. He went doctors and stay-at-home moms in the same sentence.
That was a win.
Wow.
That was a win. It's
Yes,
it was 29
we do.
It's 2019.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, the one time we had 3 nights, it's exhausting. Not only for our volunteers that go out and light all the candles, set everything up, but also for our actors who is 13 tours a night, if I recall correctly.
15 roughly.
15 tours a night. As
Oh
fun
my
as it is,
goodness.
I can
wow.
attest. Last year to
yeah.
jump out and scare people. That was just my part. I didn't jump out and scare. I would. I came out from behind and said
We're
hello.
PG. We're
and,
PG.
and yeah, didn't scare, but
Surprise
I got to shout at people, say hello, which is very enjoyable. But it's also a lot of work. But we've had ideas to extend it because it pains me because every time we've done this, we only tell a story 1 year. It's always been new stories up until this point. Except
Are you running out of stories?
Not close.
every year we say we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, but every year I don't know. Thomas is making
like,
these
hey,
people up.
I found,
but
I
he's
found
not.
this stuff. Thomas just
We've quote unquote resurrected roughly 48 people so far.
you should have said we resurrected, pun intended.
And that's only 48 stories because
48.
many of those were double scripts.
Yes.
So we have
So
more
two
than
individuals.
50 individuals whose stories we've told. But but to get back to the original point of like why we don't do this more, we've actually had some ideas. Last year we told a few stories on the stage in the Cheshire Public Library, and that was a
Oh, you did a weekend at the house.
Yes, we did.
that was the other event.
We have for 2 years been doing an after event. We had one at the Cheshire Public Library, which was fantastic because that year we had brought back the 2 first librarians of the Cheshire Public Library from the 1890s.
Oh.
One of
One of them was portrayed by the current Cheshire Public Librarian. So that was fun.
full circle.
Oh,
Nice.
Full circle.
And the last
you
year
didn't duck her, did you?
did not
There.
duck her.
Okay,
Got
just
close.
had to clear
She's
that up.
sticking around this year, so
Okay.
you'll see her again. And we last year had one at the Cheshire Historical Society as well. And starting in 2015, we've done another kind of event. The weekend, I think it's usually the weekend following the Spirits Live Cemetery tour. We have another event at the Historical Society where we invite guests to come and hear all the actors and a lot of the volunteers, the researchers talk about who they portrayed, what were the difficulties, what did they learn. We show them all the source material we used. They can see if we have photographs of the actual individual, newspapers, diary entries, books, all sorts of things, and people really seem to enjoy that as well. It's conversations from the grave.
Wow. How long is the tour?
The tour is
Well, it's 8 stories. Some years we said we're doing 7, but we've always done 8. Even this year, and I will say they've grown longer over the years. But this year we're trying to keep it a reasonable amount. I mean, I'm trying to think. Was it an hour and a half last year?
roughly an hour and
Roughly
a
an
half.
hour and a half. We're trying to keep it at that or below this year. Because it is it's an October evening.
Yeah, but I get the impression just from being in the room with you guys, if the people that are involved are as passionate about it as you two are, this goes by real quick.
Well,
Because
They
I
really get
can't
into
imagine.
it.
Yeah, I can't imagine you guys are letting the stories drag. I can't imagine. It's got to go.
Yeah, it's
you
like-
guys clearly make
is-
it entertaining,
It is
and I'm sure people are like we're done. I guarantee that's how it.
it's a year.
I'm gonna find out this year if I can get tickets.
I hope. It is
See
a
if we don't give up.
year-round event. We start researching and writing scripts for the next year, before the first tour is completed.
Thomas has a master doc of just dozens of possible people before any of them
Over
are even
100,
locked in.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
This dude's into it.
It is a year-round event. We are always researching. We are always writing, and
We try to get the scripts in the actors' hands by July. Or
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
and to have it go by in 2 days it's really interesting. You see the culmination of your work, and
Sure.
and it makes it worth it when you stand by the gate and watch the visitors leave, and you can ask them, what was your favorite story? And did you enjoy yourself? And they're always so enthusiastic, and it's really a great experience to see how happy they all are. And it's also even another one of my favorite things was we did 3 years ago, we did the story of a woman who was killed in our town in 1937. And she had a really interesting story. And I came about it by finding a newspaper article about the murder and reached out. I found Ancestry.com. I reached out to someone who had created a profile for this individual, asking if they knew any more information. And it turned out it was her great-granddaughter who lived in New York. And we stayed in contact with them, and the entire family came to the cemetery tour.
Oh my goodness.
And it was really special to sit and watch this woman, see a portrayal of her great grandmother who she had heard about her entire life but never met.
Sure.
And it was really kind of an interesting special experience, and it brought her to tears, and it was really great.
It's almost making me choke up because we gave my daughter her great grandmother's name. So her middle name is her great grandmother's name. Her great grandmother was killed in the Holocaust. And I have done a lot of research to find out specifics. And I sometimes wonder, what would it be like if she knew how much respect I had for her and I have never met her. And then in a way, you brought this family closer to their relative. And you gave them the honor of, we're going to take time to find out who they are, and then we're going to embody her. And will you come and be part of this? That's tremendous. You guys are so impressive. This is not just some sort of high school, quickly put together ghosts and goblins.
Yeah, it's not like my Halloween display at my front yard by any means. You guys are pretty impressive young men. I gotta be honest with you.
Thank you very much.
This is, I mean, even if it raises $10 for the Cheshire Historical Society, I'm sure it does a lot more than that.
Well, it's beautiful to see how it impacts people's lives and we get to educate people. But it's nice to also remember that all the money that we raise through ticket sales and raffle tickets that we sell the day of, and all these different things that we have available to people that come in on the tour, 100% of it goes to the Cheshire Historical Society, which again is a nonprofit organization that is housed in the center of our town next to the First Congregational Church in a building from the 1780s. And it is difficult to maintain. And it's a difficult to maintain building. There are many rooms with many exhibits.
So if you look to your left, there's a book in there called Old Houses. It's written by my uncle, George Nash. I'll get you a copy so you guys can help maintain that building.
Thank you.
Yeah. There we go. No, yeah, I honestly,
there's a lot of great tips in there.
My Eagle Scout project was to help that building. So was Thomas's, and a bunch of Boy Scouts.
Wait, you both?
We both did our Eagle Scout projects at the Cheshire Historical Society. Yes.
The connection.
So your parents aren't proud of either of you.
I know, we kind of flubbed it.
My brother's project involved putting UV film on the windows so that the light wouldn't come in and damage artifacts.
Which I would just like to preface. I know most Boy Scout projects have like a bench or a trail or a map or something, but I just went to local organizations and asked what they needed. And the Historical Society told me they needed this, and I decided to do it. And that's kind of one of our main, how we got really involved with them.
Sure.
Was because of that project. So even though it is literally invisible, it's what they needed at the time.
What was yours?
Well, it was an interesting story, actually. From 1931 to 1930 to 1971.
Honestly.
You're so smart.
Thank you very much.
I'm not making fun of you. I'm really impressed by you.
I am.
The Cheshire Historical Society building was used as a dormitory for Cheshire Academy. as were many of the buildings in Cheshire, especially on that main street near the church. So what I did is I went onto the 3rd floor of the Cheshire Historical Society, and we turned what was a dormitory room, which was at the time being used for storage, we turned it back to what it would have looked like in 1956 with the help of people who had lived in the home, teachers, students, even communicating with the current Cheshire Academy and their library, getting yearbook pictures. And we took these yearbook pictures and we took all these interviews with all these individuals who lived there at the time. And we did our very best to replicate what it would have looked like in the 1950s.
And this is why Eagle Scouts make approximately 20% more in their income than non-Eagle Scouts. You want to know how I know this? I was an executive with the Boy Scouts.
Really?
What?
Yes, I have a Boy Scout uniform. I did the whole shebang. So Eagle Scouts, making money, changing lives.
That's what we're
I'll
banking
have you
on.
know, I was an Eagle Scout.
I don't believe that.
Really?
I'm a guest in your home. Tell us about your project, Corey.
I created a podcast.
Oh my gosh. You can't get your Eagle Scout at 54.
I'm not 54.
44.
What's with the age change?
Because I can't.
I look younger than your husband.
Oh, no, you don't.
Yes, I do. I've seen him.
You've seen him.
Yeah.
You do not look younger than my husband.
Okay.
Yeah. Who is the same age as you?
Really?
He really is.
Yeah, he doesn't look it.
I know, he looks
He looks
younger.
way older.
No, not in the least. Okay.
I mean, I could tell you moisturize, Corey.
So-
You've got that soft skin, youthful look.
I don't have
Oh.
soft skin.
Do you moisturize? It looks like you moisturize.
You know, it was
That's
awesome
official.
having you, Stephanie. We'll never have you again. I'm gonna have these two back.
I know.
You won't. You get
I
to, you'll
know.
get to tune in and listen.
I'll listen. That's a good show.
But listen, guys. I could legit go on for like, I don't know. I don't even want to. I can't even fathom. You two are some of the most interesting young men I've met in Cheshire.
Thank you
Can
very
I
much.
quote you on that for a resume? Or?
Yeah.
You can definitely quote me on that. I've been in town just shy of 15 years. I've been part of the Republican Town Committee as vice chair. I've been on the Youth Services Committee. I've been very active. I'm an active member of the fire department. I meet a lot of people, and you guys are definitely two of the standouts. And I'm not just saying that because you're guests here. I'm saying that because I believe it. The passion you guys show for what you guys are into and this
Right.
project you're doing, I love it, and I think it's absolutely incredible. And I don't know either of your parents personally, but I would enjoy, I'm sure, getting to know them and meeting them and your grandfather. I'm sure you have more than just the grandfather. Maybe you have grandma.
Really great, supportive grandparents.
Do you have all four?
We have three, but even my family in Florida, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncles in
Mhm.
Florida, they support us 100%. My aunt and my grandmother come up from Florida for the cemetery tour to
Yeah.
support us.
Well, the care and compassion that you have just for your community, you guys are destined for wonderful things. I'm glad that, seriously, it sounds corny, but
Thank
I'm
you very
glad
much.
that you guys are the generation coming up. I mean, this is phenomenal.
We
So-
appreciate you saying
So
so.
what do you want to give it one quick final rundown when we can buy tickets, when the shows are, where we can buy tickets, all that jazz?
So Stephanie thinks she's closing the show.
Oh, I'm not? I thought we were closing. Okay, I'm not
but,
closing this
But
show.
apparently
I'm just a
Stephanie
guest
hasn't
here.
listened to enough episodes to know that that's my job.
I'm sorry. Okay,
But-
Corey.
Yes, what she said.
What she said.
There.
That final quick little rundown. Spirits Alive is going to be in October. People can purchase tickets starting on the 15th of August. Those are going to be sold to the Cheshire Historical Society members. You should purchase a membership. I believe it's $15 to $25 a year, and you get advanced accessibility to tickets for Spirits Live.
But Steph and I are getting them for free.
Of course.
Oh.
Yeah,
The general public tickets go on sale on September the 1st.
And where do you buy tickets?
You can find them. You can go to the Cheshire Historical Society, or you could go on There's Eventbrite. You can purchase them online.
Yeah, and the links will be on Facebook come that time.
Yes.
Spirits Alive
Spirits
Cemetery
Live
Tour
Cemetery
on
Tour.
Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah. We gotta go. Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you guys for being here. I appreciate everybody listening. Tune in next week, but check out the Spirits Alive event. Facebook, Spirits Alive
Cemetery Tour.
Cemetery Tour. Say it.
Spirits Alive Cemetery Tour on Facebook.
Yeah, that's why Thomas is
Also
here.
on Instagram.
And on Instagram.
No Twitter.
No Twitter.
Not yet.
Ghosts don't tweet.
They do post nice pictures.
Oh my God, we're
and
having too much
Facebook
fun.
updates.
Okay.
Everybody, bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Let's get out of here! Like now!
Okay, so I'll see you later, huh? I'll give you a call.
Okay, see you later, pal.
Amigos, time to depart.